Now this is impressive packaging. Look at this. Handmade wooden boxes, wax seal, the whole thing. It's just damn incredible. No matter how you slice it, you know you're getting something special when you open up one of these boxes. The hell is this madness? Oh my goodness, welcome in everybody. And today we're going to be taking a look at Solid Steelworks. You saw incredible packaging that these knives are offered in. Now it's time to take a look at the knives themselves. We're going to go in no particular order. Right here is the Guillotine. Here is the Raptor. And right up here is their folding razor, something that honestly, I've never really had an interest in before, straight razors, but this is actually pretty damn cool. You know, it may be a little bit big, a little bit thick for practical use as a real straight razor, but if you just want to pull out something badass out of your pocket and flip something open, well, that's really going to be it. Now, let's get two out of the way and focus on one to begin with. This is the Guillotine. Now I want to show this to you folded first because there's a lot of character to this knife before you ever whip it open. You know, I favor different kinds of knives at different times. I have different, I don't know, I guess my attitude is fleeting for design. Sometimes I like really organic type of designs, flowing lines, no straight edges, and sometimes I like very angular, very edgy kind of looking knives, and this really falls into that latter category. Everything here is a straight line. Everything here is a right angle. Everything here is pointy, and you know what? There's something really cool about that. First thing I want to show you that I really like is the spine of the blade. They've done a lot here to design something that's wildly different. And listen, when you're charging 500 bucks for a knife, which is what this is, you do need to be concerned with having a different design than everybody else. Along with that really cool scalloped spine, you've got this really angular glass breaker lanyard opening that is built into a raised gear pattern backspacer. Really cool, really slick. You do notice it. I'll tell you this right now, you do notice this when you're carrying it. If you happen to be somebody that's overweight, that's probably going to start sticking you in the love handles, but for somebody that's even fairly in decent shape, you're probably not really going to worry about it too much. But there could be certain ways that you sit if you're wearing jeans, especially because the pockets are a little bit higher and the pants are a little bit tighter. That it might kind of jab you a little bit here and there. But, you know, in opposition to that, if you're wearing a pair of cargo shorts where the pocket is way lower and they're a little bit looser fitting, you'll probably never notice it at all. Pocket clip, very angular, very cool as well. And something that I really love is the way that the blade goes into the design of the frame, or I should say that the frame complements the shape of the tip of the blade. You've got a titanium anodized ring around the pivot on both sides, so nice pivot collars. Interesting cutout for the lock bar. There's going to be a couple little niggles that I have with this knife, and that will be one of them. While I love the look of it, it is a bit abbreviated. I would have probably foregone the extra slot here and brought this in a little bit and relieved it a little bit better because the lock is just a little bit tough. Now, it's not impossible to manipulate. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a little bit tougher than it probably should be. The other little niggle is this. Oh my God, look at the size of that flipper tab, y'all. Man, look at that thing. Number one, it's really big. Number two, it's a very sharp angle. Now, if this were a poorly built knife that had a difficult action, I could see needing this extra leverage. But the fact of the matter is, they built this knife really well, and it's got a really nice action. They could have actually done with something much shorter and probably not as steep of an angle. But talking about that, as you see, there is no problem whatsoever opening or closing. Now we get to the showpiece, the centerpiece of this knife, which really is this blade. Really nicely hollow ground. You've got a 4-inch AEBL blade. The whole thing is 10.5 inches overall. So it's a very, very long knife, but you'll notice it's also very slender. One of the things I love about this design is the fact that there are so many of these butcher-style, Wharncliffe-style knives out there on the market right now, and they all do the same thing. And I'll include myself in this on my fixed blade tibia. Make them very, very tall and very angular. But what they chose to do here at Solid Steelworks was to go something very slender and very sleek. So even though you do have a really large knife here, it actually carries fairly well because it takes up very little room in the pocket as far as its overall height. It's a fairly heavy knife. I don't have the weight on it. They don't mention it on their website, so I can't give that to you. Since I am not a Coke dealer, I don't keep a scale here in my home. So unfortunately, I just have to guess. I would say this is probably about 6 to 6.5 ounces, so it's got a fair amount of weight to it. It is a very thick steel blade on there. Very, very thick. You also notice it's got the fuller with the alternating sized holes. I want to get this out of the way right now. Mark did talk to Todd Bagg and got the okay to use that design because, as many of us know, that is a signature of Todd Bagg with the fuller and the alternating sized holes. So he just kind of wanted to make sure he was doing things the right way. Reached out to and contacted Todd. They had a nice discussion about it. And, you know, Todd's a great guy. He just says, you know what, if you acknowledge me, that's great. That would be awesome. Then feel free to do it. Some more goodies on this. You'll notice that those little ports here go all the way through the knife. They're matched up from the lock side to the presentation side. So when the blade is in place, they're covered. And then when you open the blade, they're exposed. Pretty cool. So you've got these open areas here. You've got the open area here for the lanyard attachment. Like I said, overall, damn cool knife. I like the thumb stud. The only thing with using the thumb stud if you're a flicker is the fact that you've got such a huge flipper tab there. It really wants to kind of hit your finger. So, I said I had a couple niggles. We went through one, which was the way the lock bar relief was done. Again, it is not impossible. You'll see it's got a nice early lock up on there. But it is a little bit stiffer than I would particularly like. Number 2 was the size of the flipper tab. And number 3, when you look at the knife here, you go, holy crap, that's really nice. And it's nice, clean Cerakote work. And that's true. However, they need a little bit, just a little bit more prep before they do the Cerakote. And you'll only notice that when you're looking at it up close. Now you can see the rough grind lines in the blade. Now looking at it, I'm going to say it's probably 120 grit, maybe 220. But for me, and what I've done with the knives that I've made and had Cerakoted, I go to 400. 400's nice and clean and smooth. I mean, then you can even go over it with a Scotch-Brite belt. And that keeps everything nice and clean so that when you do the bead blasting, and there is a specific media that you have to use for bead blasting for Cerakote. It's got to be very, very smooth and very fine. And once that's done, you should get a nice, clean, smooth surface, just like you see here on the titanium frame. And yes, this is all titanium. It is a titanium frame lock with the AEBL blade. AEBL is great because it takes a ridiculous, true razor thin edge, which is what this has. This is an extraordinarily sharp blade, and it's very, very thin behind the edge. I didn't measure it. I meant to grab my calipers and bring them in out of the shop. I apologize for that. But, I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say that's probably between 10 and 12 thou behind the edge. So it's very, very thin, very slim. He's got a nice mirror polished edge on there, and that makes this a good slicer. It just slices through things, does great push cuts, and works really, really well. So again, the action is fantastic. Yes, it is blocky. There are a few hot spots, especially from the way that the pocket clip is made. But if you're looking for something futuristic, sleek, and cool, something that you can carry, and when you pull it out of the pocket, people go, holy shit, this is absolutely the knife for you. It is not a practical EDC. I will put that out there. But not every knife we buy has to be practical or has to be good for EDC purposes. Sometimes we just like to carry a certain knife because we like to carry a certain knife. You know, you go over to the gun world. You know, if you want a practical EDC, you're gonna carry your Glock 43. It's slim, it's lightweight. You're probably never gonna rust it by sweating all over it. It's so thin that you can put it inside the waistband. But you know what? Sometimes you want to carry that full-size 1911 that you spent $3,000 or $4,000 on because it's freaking cool. It's a great gun. You love shooting it, and every now and then you're gonna EDC that. So again, we have our specific needs, and then we have our wants and desires. And this is more of that super cool, very slick look that we're going to enjoy having, but we're probably not going to carry every single day. So getting that out of the way, let's move over to the Raptor. Now, I want you to keep in mind that Solid Steelworks only makes their knives available direct at this point. They're going to be setting up a network of dealers, but that has not happened yet. So you have to go to solidsteelworks.com to buy any of the knives that you see. And check out their Instagram, which is Solid Steelworks, and see some of the cool options they're doing. I fell in love with the all black and the blue anodized. That's what I ordered. However, they do some cool all white and Stormtrooper and mixed color combinations, and they're going to be offering some that don't have Cerakote, that just have nice finishing. So if you don't like the look of a Cerakote knife, if you feel it just looks too production level for you, then by all means tell them, hey, I want a satin finish on my blade, and I want a bead blasted finish on my handles. Whatever you want to do. These are all custom knives. These are not production. They are not mid-tech. They're all custom, so you can make those requests. You just pay for the different levels that you're asking for. Keep in mind, these are all in-house designed. All the parts are cut and finished in-house, and they do their own Cerakote application and even their own heat treat. So, in my opinion, the money that you're spending, and this one, the Raptor, is $600, I think is a good value for the fact that you're getting a custom-made knife. And very few are made like each other. So, like the ones that you're seeing here, I think they've only made 2 or 3 that are all black with the blue. And it's just because I wasn't being creative. I saw the Guillotine in black and blue and went, that's what I want. I love how that looks. It looks great on this model. That's what I want. Had I asked for something different, I would have gotten that. So very few have been repeated, and that's a good thing. All right, let's talk about the Raptor. We'll start off with the specs here. You're looking at a 1/4 inch thick CPM 3V blade with a 4-inch cutting edge. It's 5.5 inches closed and 9.5 inches overall. So it's still a very big knife. It is a little bit lighter weight than the Guillotine, just because, I think it's because the steel is tapering off. You've got a little bit less steel going on there. And while you have when you look at the Guillotine, you have that really super deep hollow grind. On this, you've got a compound grind. So you've got the hollow grind here, which goes down very, very thin. This is going to be really good for slicing. And then up toward the tip, they've got a very thick, very highly profiled flat grind, which is going to be better for chopping. So it's got a little bit more of a supported edge up there toward the tip, which is really, really good. So if you want something that has a little bit more cutting performance and all-around performance, the Raptor may be the best idea for you. The only thing I don't like about the Raptor is it feels somewhat derivative. Now, even though they are doing their own design, I feel like I've seen this, at least something very similar to it, before. And maybe it's the way that the shape of the cutout with the shape of the blade, I don't know. And while I like the design and I think it's cool, it just, there's something in the back of my mind that says, I think I've seen something like that before. I can't put my finger on it. I really couldn't pull up anything in any searches, so I could be way off base on that. All right, so getting back into it, some of the cool features about this, the way that they have machined this frame, you see the cool machining that they've done all the way around the frame. They've cut the frame down and exposed the back spacer like a spine. Very tall raised gear jimping that they've rounded off the edges. And here's where you go from a shit production knife to a good high quality custom. Shit production knife would never have rounded those edges off. So you would have had something rather sharp here after they milled it. With a custom knife, this is somebody that's taking the knife and they're holding it and they're feeling it and going, okay, this is a protrusion, it's meant to be a protrusion, but how can I make this more comfortable? And they made it more comfortable by paying attention and rounding off those edges so they're actually not sharp. Very slick, very cool idea. As you see, that 1/4 inch thick blade stock is very, very aggressive. They've taken a little 45-degree angle off here at the top. Beautiful looking grind. Very clean, nice edge. Again, a very, very, very sharp knife. A little more traditional on the lock bar on this one as opposed to on the Guillotine. So it's a more standard length cut, and then you have the lock bar relief cut there. And this one feels great. Not too hard at all. Actually very easy to manipulate all the way around. I love how the blade just dives off into the frame. They're giving you a little bit of extra room here so you don't, actually come in contact with the tip. It's a very thick backspacer, of course, to match with the thickness of the blade. Another custom made pocket clip. This one just a little bit more straight, a little bit more standard. Again, with the anodized pivot collars. They've chamfered the edges all the way around up toward the front edge of the handles. They do it again back here on the frame, all the way around here. So while it is blocky and it is thick, it's a little bit less brick-like than other knives of its size and of its thickness. I really like how your fingers drop right into this recess. Actually feels really good to me. Backspacer feels good. You do notice it, you do feel it, but it's not sharp, it's not cutting you. There's not really any hot spot coming from the pocket clip like we saw in the Guillotine, so that was very well done. Overall, I like the shape of it. I love having the thumb ramp. The very aggressive jimping that's been done here, again, not sharp at all. They've done a great job dehorning all of this, make it nice and comfortable. And once you've got this closed, again, they're going back for that fairly slender, sleek look, which not only looks cool and allows the knife to look a bit more aggressive, but allows it to fit in the pocket a little bit easier. And listen, when you're making a knife that's 9.5 inches overall, it is going to be important to find a way to make it a little bit more pocketable. As far as the flipper tab on this goes, again, I would shorten that by about 50%. And I mean, the action's so good. They're doing such an amazing job on these. They do not need to compensate with a huge flipper tab. I mean, I barely have to touch. Look at this. Oh, yeah, that's smart. Look at this. I barely have to touch it. And you can see how smooth it is. It just kind of wanted to rock out on its own. Very, very, very well done. And now to finish things off before my battery dies on the camera, I'm going to take a look at the folding razor blade here. So what you've got is the look and feel of a straight razor. Everything's manual. It's a friction fit, just like you would expect, except everything is done in titanium and in CPM. Get this, M4 steel. How overkill is that? How freaking awesome is it to have, and it looks like 1/4 inch thick again, 1/4 inch thick competition chopper style M4 at 62 Rockwell. Yeah, I mean, holy shit, man. It's crazy. Do I ever feel the need to have a straight razor? No, hell no, I've never had one. But you ever watch a movie and you get down to the bad guy and the bad guy just pulls out a straight razor and you're like, dude, that's pretty friggin' menacing. He's not pulling out an out the front automatic or something crazy. He's pulling out a straight razor. This guy's gonna do some serious fucking damage. That's kind of the feeling I get with this, and I really, really dig it. I love the workmanship in the texturing of the frame and of the pocket clip. Great anodizing on there as well, so they did a nice polish on it. just overall, it's a pretty kick-ass knife. Now, they kind of just make these as they go. They don't really have it listed on their website. I don't know how much they are. He was very kind to send this to me as a gift while I was ordering the other two. It was quite a surprise. I didn't realize I was going to be getting 3 knives. And I got to tell you, I've already played with this thing a few times, and I really dig it just because of how badass it is to say, I've got a folding straight razor in my pocket. There's something really cool about that. Now, this is not, and my only experience with straight razors, you have to understand, was visiting with Stan Wilson and looking through his amazing museum of straight razors in his collection. He would actually pluck a hair out of his beard, and he would just lay it across the blade, and it would split the hair. This is not that sharp. This is not that true, straight razor sharp, but it is very effective. It is very, very sharp. It's just not what you would expect for, a true straight razor. But I mean, you're getting this because you just kind of want to be a little bit of a badass. And this knife certainly does give that to you. Very thankful that it is a tip-down carry. I do not do tip-down carry in flippers or anything else because it's dangerous. But when you've got the big opening tang here, you do want this tip-down carry so that it's a little bit more safe to carry in your pocket. So there's just a quick look at that. I wanted to make sure that you guys got a chance to see it. Yes, the other two are more of that tactical look that people are accustomed to. But yeah, if you want something that's just pure badass, maybe you're just going to use it for a paperweight. Maybe it's just going to be used in a display. I don't know. Maybe you will carry it. But how friggin' cool is that? Really well made. Nice, chunky, overbuilt feel to the whole thing. Which again, kind of goes, flies in the face of what a straight razor typically is. But you can't deny the cool factor to it. It may not be your thing. It never was my thing. But now that I've had it in my hand and I've played with it a bit, and I even carried it once, and I'll be carrying it again, I kind of fell in love with it, and I pretty much dig it. So, you know what? You can always change. You can always change. You can always teach an old dog new tricks. All right, guys, so there they are. There's the Guillotine, the Raptor, and the folding razor, all here in one video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do stay tuned. I've got more videos coming. I'm doing my best to make time to get back in the studio to do this stuff.